Hey guys, so I wanted to come on here and talk about this case of this woman who called. It looks like she's been having her daughter exposed to drugs and degeneracy, and then she called in numerous different times, the second time in 3 months, of her 19-month-old daughter overdosing on drugs. And now, as everybody who watches this know, the primary reason that I put this out here, and I do this content, is because you live in a society, and I try to emphasize the importance of this, because everybody talks about Black empowerment, Black liberation, all these things, Black unity, which are great. These things are great, 100%, they're needed, but you can't do anything, you can't accomplish any of that until you deal with the mindset of the global Black majority. And that mindset is one of inferiority. And that doesn't mean that people are running around saying, hey, I'm inferior. It means that you've been forced into a society where you're inferior so that white people can feel superior. And you're inferior, and we've internalized our inferiority because we live in a society where they control the narrative. There's a bunch of propaganda. There's a bunch of lies. They have a fake history. They omit information just by virtue of omitting 1,000 years of their history, because it shows how degenerate they were. Black people really do have the mindset and ingrained in their subconscious psyche, they're somehow inferior to these people. And that couldn't be more further from the truth. So what I like to do is I like to come on here and provide some content so that you guys can see the majority of the lies. Now, understand that this drug epidemic is primarily in their community. They would not be running around talking about victims of opioid and this is a national crisis. Like, you have to see the difference between these things. And this is why I mostly express this, because I want Black people to understand how they're able to trick you. But the first thing you need to understand is deception. You can only deceive a person who trusts you. If you don't have trust for a group of people, specifically the dominant society, they will never be able to deceive you, because you would constantly be questioning what they tell you, okay? We already know there's a high amount of trust in the Black community for the white community, because really Black people tend to not believe anything unless it comes out of the mouth of a white person. So that means the white community have Black people's 100% uncontested, faithful trust. And this is why Black people continue to get deceived, because you don't understand the system of white supremacy that you're in. You think that they're running and operating on honesty and they're simply showing you the news, when in reality they're showing you propaganda. They're hiding their own degeneracy and over exaggerating, and sometimes creating degeneracy in the Black community, because feeling better than Black people is the most important thing. It is more important to them than anything, even life. If they have to live a life in which they were to be equal to you, which they would never be, it would simply be you above them, even if you're not trying, because you don't have to do anything to be above them. Nature has endowed you with everything you need to be considered above them. So you live in a society that they created to create the illusion that somehow you're less than them. And a part of that illusion is leaving out stuff like this, because you have a mother that is clearly exposing her daughter to drugs. Okay. It says police in North Palm Beach have taken a woman into custody after she called 911 to ask for a no contact order against a former friend, before finally admitting that a child in her care was overdosing on pills she left sitting around, reports the Palm Beach Post. According to police, this was the second time in 3 months that they had to go to the home of Jeanette Homan, 43, because the same little girl ingested drugs. In an audio tape released by the North Palm Beach Police Department, Homan spent a minute complaining about the man who reportedly took her car before mentioning the toddler. Okay, this is their mindset pathology. These are the ones who will sit around and tell you Black people's broken family structure and Black people's immoral and Black people's degeneracy is basically the fall of humanity. They will sit here and try to convince you this, while they leave out all of the degeneracy, because they have to go by propaganda, because just based on the sheer amount of crime and degeneracy that comes out of their community, if they were to focus on actual crime regardless of race, naturally you would just see more white people committing crimes, because those are the people who sit up here and without a motive, just commit crimes and do extremely degenerate, again, basically just like a domesticated animal. I don't know how, we'll get to, this is the actual recording that I'll let you guys hear.
I need both. My ex came my meds out of my hands. When I entered the door, and my daughter got a hold of one of my the buprenorphine. I guess when you got them, they went flying, and I got them all. And I need police to make a no contact order, a report, and I need my daughter to be brought to the hospital.
And what address is this for?
1939 Red Bank Road, North Palm Beach, 32408.
Red Bank Road. Okay, and so he came over. Is he still there or no?
No. But he took my car. He has a spare key. He took off with my car.
Okay, why did your daughter need the hospital? Was she assaulted?
I'm sorry?
You said your daughter needs to go to the hospital. Was she assaulted?
No. My meds are in my car, so I took my meds out of my car, and he got out of the car and ran after me to try to grab my meds because I have buprenorphine. I take buprenorphine, and he opened them up and took a bunch of them out, and just threw the pills on the ground and took off. And so I picked up the pills, but apparently when I was doing that, she must have grabbed one, and I found a broken up one in the house, and I don't know how much she got, but she's like nodding out and stuff, so apparently she got some of it.
What kind of med was it?
It's Tebutex buprenorphine, 8 milligrams.
Is it an antidepressant? What is it?
It's an anti-opiate. She's like nodding out.
How old's your daughter?
She's a year and a half.
Okay, hold on, stay on the line.
Fire rescue at the location of the emergency.
Hey, the sheriff, go to a transfer for 1979 Red Bank Road.
What's going on there? Ma'am, my ex came here. He's a major drug addict. He came and he has a spare key to my car. And I noticed a car out front, and they were dropping him off, and he got into my car, and I had my medication in my glove box, so I ran out, and I opened the door and grabbed my medication. He came around and, like, struggled with me. He opened the bottle and, like, just took a handful of them and threw the bottle of the rest of them on the ground, and my daughter was outside with me, and I grabbed the medication off the ground as much as I could. I thought I had them all, but I didn't know how many to count because I didn't know what he took. And he must have got a hold of one of them. And when I came inside, I saw one broken up on the ground.
So we're not going to listen to that whole thing, but I will leave the link here if you guys want to listen to the whole thing. But if you, as you notice, that her child's safety was secondary to her simply getting a no contact order enforced on her ex-boyfriend or ex-husband or whatever. Because any decent mother would really sit up, when you call the police, you would initially say, oh, my child overdosed, I need to get help for my child. She's on the phone not caring about the child, because understand that just because this is a woman, and women should carry that maternal instinct, doesn't mean anything. The bottom line of it is that she wasn't concerned about her child. If she was concerned about her child, she wouldn't have had her child around an abusive man, and she wouldn't have had her child anywhere where she could actually access these drugs, okay? According to the sheriff's report, the unidentified girl was overdosing on narcotic pain reliever buprenorphine and required multiple doses of Narcan to be revived after being rushed to St. Mary's Medical Center Neonatal Intensive Care Unit in West Beach. Okay, so now this kid, clearly, she was able to ingest this and sit around and have this in her system for a long time. You see, the mom didn't really care about anything. Police state that the same little girl overdosed in October after ingesting 2 1-milligram clonazepam pills, a sedative, and was finally taken to the hospital by Holman 3 hours later after she noticed the child couldn't work. So this is the system that you're dealing with, because you have a scenario where repeatedly, multiple different times, okay, this is the second time they didn't address it and take the baby out of this clearly unable to provide and protect the child mother. They didn't take him from her that time. they waited, and then when the baby got, because she's clearly trying to just kill this baby. You're not going to wait 3 hours later after a baby takes a sedative and then notice that the kid can't walk. This dumb idiot didn't care about her baby. Holman is currently being held in Palm Beach County Jail on multiple child neglect charges, as well as perjury charges for lying to investigators on how the child got the drugs. You can listen to the audio below. Again, you can listen to the entire thing below, but apparently not only is she a degenerate, she's an unfit mother, but she's also a liar, which look, no surprise there, because that's how they are. But understand that they will skip over this. This is in Raw Story, but it should be on the mainstream news. There was just a shooting the other day, and you don't see that getting any national coverage. But again, a lot of this has to do with us too, because we refuse to actually do something about these scenarios. We really refuse to do so. But let me know what you guys think. Get into the comments and let me know what you think about this story. Like it, comment on it, and then I'll see you guys in the next one. And feel free to send me messages, within the Patreon community. You can definitely send messages there. You can put links to articles and stories that you want to hear, or you can also send them to my regular email address, which a lot of you already have. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you in the next one.